All right, and we are back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you with the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your favorite wrestling fan here, Eric Rodriguez, every Monday night live on Twitch, on the GSMC Sports Network, the GSMC Podcasting Network on YouTube. Make sure you guys Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show so you guys can get some notifications when we go live. All right, so without further ado, we're going to talk about our fifth and final segment. Make sure you guys catch up on all the segments from this show. We talked about WrestleMania Night 1, WrestleMania Night 2. We talked about WWE NXT Stand and Deliver. We talked about 3 wrestling superstars making their way back to WWE. Aleister Black, Miro, and possibly, Saraya. Paige, formerly known as Paige. So let's go and talk about some TNA. TNA, total nonstop action. Guys, don't get too crazy. So we're going to talk about some TNA. We're going to talk about some of the, ultimately some of the Mount Rushmores. I know a lot of time TNA is, it's not really the biggest topic, not really the most popular, but, TNA had some stars. They had some dudes. They had some dogs under their roster. And, a lot comes to the mind once when you think about, TNA, Mount Rushmore. In an interview while speaking with Chris Van Vliet, Samoa Joe spoke about his Mount Rushmore, and I can't really disagree with it. I can't really disagree with the Mount Rushmore. Everybody has their Mount Rushmore professional wrestling, Mount Rushmore basketball, baseball, football, you name it. Even influential music people like Jimi Hendrix, the Beatles, people like that. But overall, we found out Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle, AJ Styles, Jeff Jarrett, and the Monster Abyss, which is all amazing superstars. All amazing superstars, 1,010%. Let's start off with AJ Styles. AJ Styles, a hometown boy, Nashville, Tennessee. That's where they filmed a lot of their, kind of like the Performance Center in Orlando for NXT. That's what TNA was to Nashville. You had a hometown boy, AJ Styles within, X Division, killing it. As TNA World Champion. I was okay. I'm not trying to seem like I'm like the biggest TNA know-it-all here. I watched TNA exclusively from 2006 to about 2008, 2009. Once when Hulk Hogan came, and then Kevin Nash, and then Scott Hall, and then Eric Bischoff, and I was like, okay, like, dude, are they trying to like hijack this show and have it be how WCW effed up, and now we're trying to make it right? No, I don't want to see that. And that's exactly what they did. Dixie Carter took Panda Energy, her sponsor that put major money in. Obviously, her dad was linked to it. And she was like, nah, man, guess what? See ya, I'm gone. They don't want to be a part of that. Don't want to do that. AJ Styles definitely helped TNA piece it all back together. He kept the butts in the seats. He was the reason why a lot of people would, pay $100 to see Bound for Glory and stuff like that. And that's TNA. When you think of TNA, you think AJ Styles. I'm sorry, you do. Kurt Angle leaving WWE in 2007, obviously dealing with a lot of injuries, with a lot of, outside, a lot of like divorce, substance abuse, painkiller medications and stuff like that. He really went from like a 5, 6, 7 day schedule of WWE to working 3 times a week most for Impact, which is good for him, which was very, very good. When he came to TNA, that definitely put TNA on the map. It put TNA on the map. It just sucks that there wasn't the right people in charge to overall like ensure the success of TNA with Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle coming to TNA was a massive bombshell. A lot of people thought it was basically like a reckoning. It was basically like a rebirth of TNA, and a lot of fans. There was a lot of TNA fans. A lot. There's a lot of people coming to the shows. So now you have top tier talents like AJ Styles, Sting, Kurt Angle, Bully Ray, Jeff Jarrett. You have all these personas. I was a fan of James Storm as well, Samoa Joe himself, and now you have Kurt Angle in the mix, and that changes things, because he was WWE's guy. Then once when Eddie passed, JBL was getting older, The Undertaker getting older, Kane getting older, Triple H, Shawn Michaels getting older. Kurt Angle was going to be that next top tier guy. Kurt Angle, he was around the attitude. I would say he's probably like, 5 or 6 years younger than the dudes I just, announced. But Kurt Angle was just something different. He was something different. And WWE definitely dropped the ball. He said, guess what? Go screw yourselves. I'm out of here. Kurt Angle being on the Mount Rushmore TNA is definitely a must. The Monster Abyss. The Monster Abyss needs to be on this list. You can't talk about TNA, much like AJ Styles, you can't talk about TNA without talking about the Monster Abyss. This guy was essentially Mankind, Kane, and The Undertaker mixed up into one person. Triple iconic, triple adored by the fans, but most importantly, tripled respected amongst the wrestling community. So Abyss being up there makes sense. Jeff Jarrett, he acquired the company, although, at the end of he kind of did ultimately sue them in the end, which is kind of crazy. He was the top heel guy. He basically turned into the Triple H of TNA. Doing lie detector tests with Jim Cornette. He was that guy. He was that bad guy. Which ultimately opened up a lot of the storylines from the TNA stars that we love so damn much today. So I feel like Jeff Jarrett ultimately kind of being up there deserves it. But, once when TNA formed, TNA was established shortly after WCW ended and ECW back in 2001. Bob Ryder, Jeff, and Jerry Jarrett went on a fishing trip and actually started talking about how we can make a wrestling promotion, kind of come in fruition here. TNA basically started on a fishing trip, which is actually pretty funny. Since WCW was canceled, many people believed that television stations thought professional wrestling was bad for business. Because you can't really blame them for that. Who would really, really honestly go up against the WWF, the World Wrestling Federation, made the WWE? You had stars like The Rock, you had Triple H there, but a lot of WCW superstars who made it to WWE were ultimately kind of made example of. A lot of the ego of Vincent Kennedy McMahon. And there was a lot of shots fired back in the Monday Night Wars. Recently, I watched an episode of Monday Night Raw back in the day. Bill, no, not Bill. What was his name? Gilbert. And it was even Michael Cole was on the mic just absolutely busting his ass, laughing his ass off because you were really mimicking WCW's upcoming star that was Bill Goldberg. Gilbert. No, shots fired. Shots fired from both sides, 1,010%. So, WCW superstars, when they made it to WWE after Invasion, were basically set to fail. They Chuck Palumbo, Billy Gunn, or you look so, where they were like male models and oh my God, it was so bad. Rico was there. Oh my God. A lot of people that came from WCW to WWE. It was a shit show. Sorry, excuse my language. It was bad. Very, very bad. But then again, the language I just spoke basically showed you guys the frustration that a lot of these WCW superstars had. Diamond Dallas Page was made a stalker of The Undertaker's wife, which is cool. Bill Goldberg and Sting saw all the treatment that was happening. They're like, you know what? WWE, WWF, guess what? No, thank you. Don't want to do that. I feel like that's a huge reason why I have so much damn respect for Booker T. He endured all the bullshit. All the bull spit. Sorry, I don't know why I'm cussing so much. Damn it. He endured all the BS. He did. He really did. He stuck in there. In a promo with Triple H, Triple H looked at him. He was like, who are you? Oh my God. In professional wrestling, that's an absolute no-no. That is, damn. That is just riveting. All the confidence swirled down the drain right there. For a WCW upcoming young superstar, the five-time WCW champion, and you wouldn't put in a spot like that. Becomes a member of the NWO, kind of being made fun of, kind of being a little errand boy. It just, it just wasn't good. It wasn't good for a lot of these WCW superstars, and it was different back in the day because we didn't have streaming services. No Hulu, Netflix, none of that. Absolutely none of that. It back then, like TNA, it was hard. It was so damn hard, man. Like they were not relying on television. How could they with WWF being such a blockbuster, being such a monopoly in terms of professional wrestling? But they had pay-per-views. They did do pay-per-views every. They just ran weekly shows, pay-per-views, sometimes monthly shows. Their first show was June 19th of 2002. They were at the Tennessee State Fairgrounds Sports Arena in Nashville, Tennessee. They call it TNA Asylum. After 27 months, they had 111 pay-per-views. That's crazy. TNA Explosion started November 27th of 2002. And of course, 2004 to 2010, you had your TNA Impact roster, which included a whole bunch of awesome names. It was actually pretty badass. It was pretty cool. But I don't know. It was just kind of crazy. So, thinking about what Samoa Joe said, AJ Styles, Kurt Angle, the Monster Abyss, Jeff Jarrett, all fair, all awesome Mount Rushmores of TNA Impact. But, maybe there's a couple of people that he kind of left off. First and foremost, Samoa Joe himself. Samoa Joe was 1,010% a TNA superstar who set the boundaries of, he set the status quo of what it takes to kind of compete with wrestling promotions like WWE, like, back then WCW and ECW. And of course, the NWA, which they kind of, ran partnership with a little bit before then, but, all good things must come to an end. So Samoa Joe himself would have been pretty badass. Obviously, the icon Sting being in, that same category. I feel like he could, he's a 4-time champ in TNA. So, he could have most likely been on the TNA Mount Rushmore. Bully Ray, Aces and Eights, absolutely changed the game. His brother Devon as well. Christopher Daniels right now doing wondrous things in AEW. Can't count his name out. Gail Kim of the women's division of the TNA Knockouts. She created the whole division. Mount Rushmore, I would see her on there. Bobby Roode, I love the fact that Bobby Roode would be on my Mount Rushmore of TNA. I just don't know who I would knock off between AJ Styles, Kurt Angle, Abyss, and Jeff Jarrett. But when he was at his highest in TNA, he was just the heel that everybody loved to hate, and he did so damn good. He did so well at it. Then Austin Aries is a respectable mention, but didn't really make it. Eric Young. Eric Young has been within TNA for so damn long. I think he was Shark Boy. Then he became Eric Young. Don't fire Eric Young. And then he, went to, then he left TNA for a little bit. NXT Sanctity or whatever. Made it back to TNA where he's still, damn well is killing it right now. The whole thing with Steve Macklin and stuff like that. Pretty badass, pretty cool. But, you can't mention the history of TNA without Eric Young. He really stuck through it, through the thick and thin. He really did, which is very admirable. So I definitely love Eric Young being on a possible Mount Rushmore of TNA. All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed my show. Hope you guys had a good time. Remember to Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show. Follow us on Twitter /X, however you guys like to call it. Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook for more content and updates. And if I haven't made you a wrestling fan by now, check out all the other amazing, passionate sports podcasters we have here at GSMC Sports. We got Nolan with the Dead Ball Podcast. We got my man Marab talking NBA with the GSMC Basketball Podcast. It's shaping up to be a damn near unpredictable NBA postseason. So make sure you guys check out his podcast to find out all the sliders, find out all the main highlights, what to look for if your team is still in the hunt for the Larry O'Brien Trophy. Make sure you guys check out his podcast. We have my man Jake with college football. The draft is on Thursday. I, without a doubt, predict that he's going to have his nice little, if he have not already, come out with what is it? Draft lottery? No, that's not it. Draft board? I'm getting closer. Mock draft. Oh, I've got it. You guys should be happy for me. Clap. I'm just kidding. No. Moving on. Make sure you guys check out his podcast as well. We got my man, I don't know why it's so freaking busted on me right now. We got my man Jeremy talking all sports. We got my man Kenneth as well talking all sports. We got Matt Quinn as well talking football. Like I said before the draft, make sure you guys check out all that awesome podcast. We have NFL offseason talk. Make sure you guys tune into all the hottest news. And guess what? It's absolutely FREE free. I give you guys the Eric Rodriguez guarantee that you guys will not regret subscribing to such an amazing network who loves their audience and 1,010% gives you guys the best sports content, the best free sports content. So don't miss out. Don't miss out on this awesome sports bloodline that is GSMC. Once again, hope you guys had an amazing Easter weekend, gearing up for an amazing, lovely week. Stay beautiful, but of course, always love you.